So thank you for joining today, considering it's a beautiful day outside, and I know that a lot of people like to go for walks, so thank you. Just a couple of announcements. We will be doing a special Christmas Eve story time, so that'll be taking place in early afternoon on Christmas Eve, and then we're also going to be doing some more story times. Potentially one in between Christmas and New Year, I just need to check, but I'll let you know. But definitely one on New Year's Day as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy them stories too, and then continue with us into the new year. So, guys, the Christmas party last night. Here we go. So let's get started. Thank you for joining in today to listen to the story of the Christmas Eve tree. This is a cool little book that I found in a bookstore a couple of years ago. It was actually only published in 2017, so it's a fairly new story, but it's not one that you kind of expect. And there's some really interesting elements in this one which I think is relevant for everyone this time of year, and it really makes you think about other people. So it's a lovely little story, and we're going to get into it now. So thank you for joining us. Today we've got Pooh Bear in his wonderful Christmas jumper, obviously, as am I. Rudolph is joining us, Buddy the pug, and Nicholas the Christmas llama. And we've got our little decorations, or with our little reindeer and snowman decorations, and we've also decorated our lamp. So I hope you like the little festive. So, oh, and I moved this time around so we can see the decoration on the wall. So hopefully you can see that one too. So let's get started. This is by Delia Huddy and the illustrations by Emily Sutton. We'll get into the illustrations and everything as well. So this is the Christmas Eve tree. A forest of Christmas trees stretching over the hills. That's where the story begins. There were little fir trees planted, but planted carelessly, so that when the wind blew strong, it fell sideways onto its neighbour and had no chance to grow. So that was quite a quick bit. Our little fir tree is right down here where my finger is. Oh. The years went by until one December, when the foresters dug up the trees for the Christmas market. The little fir tree, stunted and still tangled with its neighbour, was loaded onto a trailer and driven down the motorway to the city. "Oh my," it said breathlessly, for it was the bottom of the pile. The tallest trees were unroped and taken away. One to stand proudly in a cathedral, another in the middle of a large square, and a third to decorate the stage at a grand Christmas ball. But most of the trees were bought by ordinary folk, for houses where there were children who covered them with stars and silver tinsel, chocolate mice, and small secret presents. The little fir tree and its companion were taken to a large store where late on Christmas Eve they were the only trees left unsold. A shopper hurried in to make a last-minute purchase. "You'll not want this weedy thing, miss," said the shop assistant as he pulled the little fir tree from the roots of the bigger tree and threw it to one side. The customer smiled and went off, pleased with her buy, but the little fir tree felt fearful of what its fate might be. There was a boy in the shop, drawn in from the rain outside by the warmth and the lights, and the wonderful spicy smell of Christmas. He said, "You throwing that away? Could I have it?" The assistant looked at the little fir tree, hardly what you'd call a tree at all. He shrugged and handed it over. After all, it was Christmas Eve, and the store would soon be closing. The boy went outside into the cheerless evening. He held the little fir tree carefully in front of him so that none of its few crooked branches would get snapped off by shoppers on the pavement. He stepped off the long walk to the river. On his way, he found a cardboard box in a litter bin and took it along too. When he came to the river, the tide was out, and down the steps a small, pebbly beach was showing. The boy climbed down, and digging the mud with his hands, he planted the little fir tree in the cardboard box. Near the steps under the arches of a railway bridge, the boy had another cardboard box, big enough to sleep in. He put the tree on the pavement in front of him. "What a poor thing I am," thought the little fir tree. But the boy seemed pleased, so the little fir tree felt more cheerful. "I belong to someone now," it said to himself, and it began to feel like Christmas. A passer-by dropped a coin into the boy's lap. It was enough to buy him supper, but instead he crossed over to the newsagent and bought some candles and a box of matches. He fixed the candles to the branches of the little fir tree. Now other people were returning to claim their cardboard boxes for the night. They gathered round the boy and the little fir tree. An old busker with an accordion sat down, and soon the notes of a Christmas song blended with the heavy rumble of the trains overhead. Everyone started to sing. More people gathered: home-going travellers, theatre-goers, sightseers. A policeman tried to move them on, but they stood where they were, the singing people, and the traffic was brought to a halt. The candles burned steadily, and the old man played, and still the people sang. The little fir tree felt it would burst with happiness, for it was obvious the boy had forgotten that tonight he would be sleeping in a cardboard box under the railway arch, and that tomorrow he would eat not turkey, but soup in a soup kitchen, if he was lucky. So this book comes with a little surprise, which I hope you will enjoy. But this particular scene is accompanied by a very special pop-up. So do you hope that you enjoy this scene? Let me get a bit closer. A few days later, the boy moved on. "You're more dead than alive," he said sadly to the little fir tree as he went. And the tree, feeling dry and brittle, had to agree. But while other Christmas trees were piled onto January bonfires, the little fir tree was put into a road sweeper's barrow. "There's a green shoot here," said the road sweeper, looking at the tree's roots, and slyly he planted it in the corner of the park gardens. There you will find it, not so little now, and against all odds it grew, if not big and tall, but at least cheery and stout. Now it stretches out its branches for sparrows, pigeons, babies in prams, lovers and office workers. Mice nibble at its roots. And as the winter days shorten, the fir tree dreams of its poor beginnings in the hills, of that magical Christmas Eve, and of sunny days in the park. Who would have thought, it says to itself, as it looks forward to another spring. So that's the story of the Christmas Eve tree, and it's something that I hope you would have noticed, but it did take me a couple of attempts at reading this to notice it, so I really want to share with you guys. But when the tree is actually in the toy store, well, I say toy store, it's just a big shopping shop. I assume toy store because of the rocking horse, but I think it's a department store. The name of the toy store is D. Huddy and Son, and what I quite like about that is obviously it's a reference to the author, who is Delia Huddy. So I think that's kind of sweet. I know this is it's a different kind of Christmas book, and it's not very well known, but I think sometimes the most magical books are the ones that you don't realise actually exist, and it's really nice to hear something different. What I really like about this book is that it makes you think of others, and I think especially for this Christmas, at the time of recording, we've got to remember that there's other people, despite how bad some people think their Christmas may be this year, there's plenty of other people who won't be having any Christmas at all, and who would like one. So I think just think of others when you're thinking of yourself, and if you can, share and be kind to all trees, especially if you've got a real one. Don't be mean, because it might have been up in a hill one day. Now it lives in your little house. So I highly recommend reading this book every year. And I really hope that you're able to get a copy for your library, or to borrow out a copy from your library and enjoy it. So thank you for joining us for a little short story, but a special story, of The Christmas Eve Tree by Delia Huddy, and illustrated by Emily Sutton. Thank you so much. Say bye, Pooh. Bye. Bye.